It's one of the most trusted names in finance, yet even American Express has faced moments that nearly destroyed its reputation. From billion-dollar frauds to corporate scandals that sent executives into courtroom battles, this empire didn't survive by luck, it survived by mastering trust itself. Stay until the end, because what saved American Express wasn't money or power. It was a single decision that rewrote how the world defines credibility. The birth of a giant, from horses to the rails of power. In the mid-19th century, when America's economy was racing forward on the steam of locomotives and ambition, one company quietly began building what would become a trillion-dollar empire. American Express, born in 1850 under the Treaty of Buffalo, was the product of a strategic merger between three fierce competitors, Henry Wells, William Fargo, and John Butterfield. Rather than destroying each other through rivalry, they united to form a single express network powerful enough to dominate the nation's expanding frontiers. From its earliest days, the company's reputation wasn't built on profit margins, but on trust, reliability, and speed. The values that would later define its global financial dominance. At a time when stagecoaches and railroads carried not only letters but fortunes, safety was everything. American Express specialized in transporting gold bullion, cash, and vital government documents across treacherous routes plagued by bandits and broken rail lines. Its fleet of couriers, armed and sworn to secrecy, became legends of reliability. During the Civil War, Amex secured government contracts to deliver military payrolls and supplies, handling transactions worth millions of dollars, a monumental sum in the 1,860 SS. In an era where the U.S. Postal Service struggled with theft and inefficiency, American Express emerged as the only company trusted by both Wall Street bankers and Washington officials. Each delivery carried enormous stakes. A single shipment could contain more than $100,000 in gold coins, equivalent to over $3 million today. The company's success didn't come from technology, it came from reputation. The name American Express became shorthand for certainty in uncertain times. Its signature metal safes and uniformed couriers inspired public confidence long before it issued a single financial product. By the 1870s, the company had built an infrastructure that connected every major city between New York, Chicago, and San Francisco, making it one of the first nationwide networks in U.S. history. What started as an express shipping firm was quietly evolving into something larger, a logistical and financial organism capable of moving both goods and money faster than anyone else. The foundations of the future credit empire were being laid, not through loans or ledgers, but through the simple act of delivering promises kept. Comment: trust is the first currency if you believe reputation is the most valuable asset any empire can own. The money order revolution, turning trust into currency. By the 1870s, as the United States entered its first industrial boom, American Express saw the limits of moving physical goods and recognized a new opportunity: moving money itself. Factories were multiplying, wages were growing, and cities like New York, Chicago, and Philadelphia were becoming financial arteries of a new America. Yet the banking system was fragmented, unregulated, and prone to collapse. Sending cash by train was risky, thieves and derailments were common. To solve this, American Express introduced a financial instrument that quietly changed global commerce: the money order. The idea was simple but revolutionary. Customers could purchase a prepaid note from an Amex office, send it safely through the mail, and have the recipient cash it at another Amex location anywhere in the country. What few realized was how profitable this innovation would become. The genius lay in what bankers would later call the float, the time between when a money order was sold and when it was redeemed. During that gap, American Express used the idle funds to earn interest through short-term investments and bank deposits. It wasn't just a service, it was a hidden financial engine generating profit from trust itself. By 1880, the company was processing millions of dollars worth of money orders each year, effectively operating as a de facto national bank without using the title. Amex had created a financial ecosystem built entirely on public confidence. Customers didn't think of it as a bank, they thought of it as the safest pair of hands in the country. The name American Express printed on the note was more valuable than gold, and its brand became synonymous with security. The system grew alongside America's railroads. As new lines connected westward territories, Amex offices appeared in frontier towns and industrial hubs alike, creating a financial network more extensive than any government bank. Its vaults in Lower Manhattan, lined with steel doors and armed guards, held assets estimated at several $million, a staggering sum for the 19th century. This financial model, turning public deposits into corporate strength, quietly transformed American Express from a delivery company into a financial powerhouse. It proved that money, when combined with trust, could move faster and safer than any train ever built. What began as an express service was now evolving into the architecture of modern finance. The traveler's check, global finance, is born. In 1890, J.C. Fargo, the president of American Express, took a trip to Europe that would forever change the company's destiny. Despite leading one of America's most trusted financial firms, Fargo found himself stranded in a London bank, unable to access his own funds. His letters of credit were rejected by clerks who didn't recognize them, a humiliating irony for a man in charge of moving millions across the Atlantic. That frustration sparked an idea that would revolutionize global finance. A portable, universally recognized document that allowed travelers to carry wealth safely across borders. Within a year, the American Express Traveler's Check was born. The concept was deceptively simple but ingenious. For a small commission, customers could purchase prepaid checks in fixed denominations, $10, $50, or $100, that could be cashed anywhere with an Amex affiliate. If stolen or lost, they could be replaced immediately. It was the world's first truly global financial instrument, giving individuals the same freedom of movement that banks and governments had long enjoyed. By 1905, the traveler's check was accepted in over 55 countries and thousands of hotels, rail stations, and banks. In an age before digital transactions, this piece of paper became as powerful as currency itself. The traveler's check was more than a product, it was a symbol of status and safety. Wealthy Americans embarking on grand tours of Europe carried Amex checks not only for convenience, but for prestige. Each one bore intricate anti-forgery patterns, watermarks and serial numbers recorded in company ledgers at the American Express headquarters in Lower Manhattan, ensuring precise tracking. The financial security it offered was unprecedented, and it instantly positioned the company as a global player rather than a domestic courier. By the early 20th century, travelers' checks accounted for a significant portion of Amex's profits. Some estimates place annual revenues at the equivalent of hundreds of millions of dollars today. They were used by explorers, business magnates, and even military personnel during wartime. The system's reliability elevated American Express from a logistics brand to a name synonymous with trust in global finance. The success of the traveler's check proved one thing: American Express had discovered a formula that transcended geography and technology, monetizing trust itself. And as the world moved into the modern financial era, that same trust would become its most valuable and fragile asset. Surviving war and depression, reinvention under pressure. By the time World War I erupted, American Express was already a household name, its brand stamped on vaults, safes, and documents across the United States. But the war would deliver its greatest challenge yet. In 1918, the US government nationalized all express delivery companies, absorbing them into a single government-run entity, the Railway Express Agency. Practically overnight, American Express lost the business that had defined it for nearly 7 decades. Its fleets of trains, horses, and couriers, all valued at over $20 million at the time, were seized under federal order. What remained was an office, a name, and a reputation for reliability. Rather than collapsing, the company made a bold pivot. With physical logistics gone, Amex turned inward, focusing on the one asset it still controlled: trust. It leveraged its network of agents and banking relationships to expand financial services, money orders, foreign exchange, and travelers' checks, which had already begun to dominate its profits. By 1920, the company had transformed from an express courier into a financial intermediary, handling cross-bed payments and serving wealthy Americans traveling to Europe after the war. Then came the Great Depression, an era that crushed even the most powerful banks. Thousands of financial institutions failed, but American Express survived. Its survival wasn't luck, it was strategy. The company held minimal debt, kept large reserves in gold-backed securities, and relied heavily on prepaid instruments like travelers' checks, which acted as built-in liquidity. During the 1930s, while Wall Street firms closed by the hundreds, Amex quietly processed millions in safe transactions for customers who no longer trusted traditional banks. In 1933, the company launched a new initiative, a global foreign exchange department, headquartered in New York's 65 Broadway building, designed to handle the rising flow of international business. The office, with marble floors and steel vaults imported from England, became the physical embodiment of Amex's resilience, a fortress of financial security in an era defined by collapse. What emerged from these twin crises was not the company that had existed before, but something far stronger, an institution that understood survival as a skill. American Express learned that, in times of war or depression, money wasn't its true product, confidence was. Comment: trust outlasts turmoil if you believe that real power isn't about surviving success, it's about surviving loss. The card that changed everything. In 1958, after more than a century of serving businesses and travelers, American Express introduced a small rectangle of cardboard that would redefine its identity and the way the world paid for things. It was called the American Express Charge Card, and unlike its competitors, it wasn't simply a payment method. It was a statement of status. At the time, Diners Club had pioneered the idea of the charge card. But Amex's version instantly stood apart for one reason: it promised trust, backed by prestige. The first cards, embossed with the holder's name and printed on stiff paperboard, were hardly luxurious, yet they signified something new: membership in an exclusive financial circle. Within a year, over 250,000 Americans had signed up, paying an annual fee that was modest by modern standards, but symbolically important. It made the card feel like an elite club rather than a mass-market product. That perception alone gave Amex a priceless advantage. By 1959, the company replaced the fragile paper card with durable plastic, a move that was more than cosmetic. Plastic didn't bend, fade, or tear. It lasted. And so did the image it projected. When executives pulled an Amex card from their wallets at hotels in Paris, Tokyo, or New York, it communicated reliability, wealth, and exclusivity in a single gesture. The iconic tagline, "Don't leave home without it," launched in later decades, would cement this association, transforming a piece of plastic into a cultural symbol of financial confidence. The shift into consumer credit also marked the beginning of a massive technological and logistical expansion. Amex built state-of-the-art processing centers in Phoenix, Arizona, and Greensboro, North Carolina, capable of handling millions of transactions daily. Each new feature, from 24-hour customer service to fraud protection, added layers of reassurance that justified higher merchant fees and annual charges. By the mid-1000s, 960s American Express had introduced corporate cards, giving entire companies the ability to centralize business travel expenses and leverage the brand's global reach. What began as a simple charge card quickly evolved into a financial passport recognized in more than 120 countries and accepted by over 1 million merchants worldwide. For Amex, the card was no longer just a product. It was the foundation of an empire, one built on luxury, loyalty, and the subtle but powerful allure of belonging to a world that few could afford to enter. The salad oil scandal, trust on trial. In 1963, a crisis unlike any other struck American Express, testing the very foundation of its empire, trust. A commodities trader named Anthony DeAngelis, head of the Allied Crude Vegetable Oil Company, orchestrated what would later be known as the salad oil scandal. One of the most audacious financial frauds in American history. Using warehouse receipts issued by American Express, DeAngelis claimed to own millions of gallons of vegetable oil stored in tanks across New Jersey. In reality, most of those tanks were filled with nothing but water, topped with a thin layer of oil to deceive inspectors. When the truth surfaced, chaos followed. Banks and trading firms that had loaned DeAngelis over $175 million, a staggering sum in the 1960s, found themselves holding worthless collateral. Because American Express warehouse receipts had guaranteed the storage, the company's credibility collapsed overnight. The stock plummeted by nearly 50%, and investors fled, convinced that the century-old symbol of reliability was finished. Financial analysts speculated that the scandal could trigger a liquidity crisis strong enough to sink the firm completely. Inside the company, CEO Howard Clark faced an impossible decision. Legally, American Express could have denied responsibility, arguing it had been deceived by falsified inspections. Instead, Clark made a radical choice: repay every affected bank in full, tens of millions of dollars, despite not being required by law. It was a move that defied conventional business logic but preserved something far more valuable than money: the company's reputation. That decision caught the attention of a young investor named Warren Buffett, who recognized that integrity itself was now American Express's most undervalued asset. Buffett poured a large portion of his investment portfolio, reportedly $13 million, nearly 40% of his total capital, into Amex shares when others were too afraid to touch them. Within 2 years, the company had not only survived but rebounded dramatically, validating Buffett's faith in the long-term power of trust. The salad oil scandal became a turning point, transforming American Express from a logistics brand with financial services into a financial institution defined by integrity. In a world where reputation can vanish faster than money, Amex proved that credibility, once defended, can become the most valuable currency of all. The age of expansion, loyalty, and legal battles. By the 1980s, American Express had become more than a credit card company. It was a symbol of prestige, but under CEO James D. Robinson III, it would transform into a sprawling financial empire. Robinson sought to position Amex as a one-stop powerhouse for finance, aggressively acquiring brokerage giants like Shearson Loeb Rhodes in 1981 and Lehman Brothers Kuhn Loeb in 1984. The deals, worth nearly $1 billion combined, made headlines and temporarily turned American Express into one of the most diversified financial corporations in the world. For a time, the company owned not only credit cards, but also investment banks, stockbrokers, and insurance subsidiaries. The move was ambitious and risky. The cultures of Wall Street and American Express clashed almost immediately. Shearson's traders resented Amex's buttoned-down executives, and the bureaucratic oversight slowed decision-making. Still, during the bull market of the mid-1980s, the strategy appeared to work. Revenue soared, and the Amex logo began appearing on everything from brokerage statements to stock market research reports. Then came the 1987 stock market crash, wiping out billions in shareholder value across the industry. The acquisitions that once seemed visionary now looked bloated. By the early 1990s, Robinson stepped down, leaving behind a company that needed to rediscover its core identity. That task fell to Harvey Golub, a pragmatic executive who refocused the business around what made Amex unique: its cardholders. Golub streamlined operations, sold off non-essential assets, and launched the Membership Rewards program in 1991. This innovation allowed cardholders to earn points redeemable for travel, dining, or luxury goods. It wasn't just a loyalty plan, it was a psychological shift. Customers began to see spending as a game, one that rewarded loyalty with tangible value. Within 5 years, spending on Amex cards increased by over 40%, and membership rewards became one of the most profitable innovations in the company's history. But success invited scrutiny. In the 2000s, regulators accused Amex of using anti-steering rules to prevent merchants from encouraging customers to use lower fee cards. The case dragged on for years, threatening to upend Amex's premium fee model. Yet in a landmark decision, the US Supreme Court sided with American Express, declaring that its rules protected a carefully balanced ecosystem of cardholders and merchants. It was a victory that reinforced the brand's identity, not as a discount option, but as the world's premier symbol of trust, exclusivity, and financial prestige. The digital empire of 2025, Prestige Reimagined. In 2025, under the leadership of Stephen J. Squeri, American Express stands as a titan of modern finance, processing over $1.4 trillion annually across the globe. Yet, unlike many tech-driven fintech firms, Amex's power doesn't lie only in numbers or innovation, it lies in the art of preserving prestige in a digital age that values speed over trust. Squeri's vision has been to merge both the timeless confidence of a 175-year-old brand with the intelligence of 21st-century technology. At the heart of this transformation is a deep focus on digital integration. Amex has poured billions into mobile ecosystems, building platforms where transactions, travel bookings, and membership rewards all live within one seamless experience. Its mobile app now manages everything from luxury hotel stays to private jet charters, appealing to a clientele that expects not just convenience, but exclusivity. Behind the scenes, AI-driven fraud detection systems analyze billions of data points in real time, protecting over 133 million cardholders worldwide, a level of digital security that rivals national intelligence systems. The brand's partnerships are equally calculated. Exclusive collaborations with Delta Airlines, Hilton Hotels, and Marriott Bonvoy ensure that every elite Amex user experiences tangible luxury, free first-class upgrades, private airport lounges, and priority reservations in Michelin-starred restaurants. Even sustainability has become part of the prestige. Amex has committed over $400 million toward carbon-neutral initiatives and eco-conscious travel rewards, proving that luxury and responsibility can coexist. But perhaps the most impressive reinvention has been its loyalty system. The iconic membership rewards program, now powered by AI personalization, tailors offers based on a user's habits, fine dining for some, investment perks for others. This customization keeps high-spending clients engaged, turning transactions into emotional connections. Amex has evolved beyond being just a payment company. It's a lifestyle curator for the world's elite. Yet amid all this innovation, one truth remains unchanged. Trust is the empire's real currency. From its 19th century origins to its trillion-dollar digital reign, every success still hinges on the same fragile promise, that every swipe, every mile, and every member matters. Because in the financial world, numbers may impress, but belief is what truly sustains power. Comment trust is the new luxury if you agree that in 2025 reputation still outweighs everything money can buy. From transporting gold bars on horse-drawn wagons to processing over $1 trillion in digital payments each year, American Express has evolved into a symbol of prestige and permanence. But behind that luxury card lies a truth most forget. This empire was built not on profit, but on trust. It's the quiet power that turned crises into opportunities and mistakes into milestones. Because in the world of money, reliability is the only real currency. If you enjoyed uncovering this trillion-dollar story, like, subscribe, and comment. Trust is the true wealth. If you agree that reputation builds empires.